Hey everybody, welcome to CES 2016. We're here at the Verge Lounge, presented by Ford Sync. Thanks for coming. I'm Sean O'Kane, I'm a reporter for The Verge, and I have a very special guest with us here today. This is Jeff Clarke, the CEO of Kodak, who made probably one of the most surprising announcements of CES. I don't think anybody really expected to come here and wind up talking about a film camera, let alone an 8mm film camera, but that's what you announced, and I would love to hear more of it because I haven't seen it yet.
Well, originally, the Super 8 camera, 50 years old, was announced in 1964, and obviously a couple years later it came out at the World's Fair. Kodak's last Super 8 camera was 1982. So bringing this back is part of a recognition that there's an analog renaissance happening. And we see this with vinyl. You see this with 3D printing, where you're taking digital and then using physical property to create the best of both worlds. And we believe that not only should Steven Spielberg and Quentin Tarantino and JJ Abrams and Steve McQueen be able to shoot on film, students should be able to, and aspiring artists and filmmakers should, as well as professionals. So we want to offer that for people to have a Super 8 camera again.
I want to get to those filmmakers in a second because that's, I think, a really interesting part about this. But can you give me an idea? Tell everybody how this thing works, because it's a slightly digital, but an 8mm camera, and one that I haven't. I mean, the last one was released before I was born, but I've used 8mm cameras before, and they are a lot of fun to use. And then there's a process of getting that film developed, and you guys have the whole thing sort of locked down with this new camera, right?
We do. We felt that you needed a full ecosystem. So first of all, the camera is a classic film camera. The same cartridge that we've been making for the last 20 years pops right in there, and you have a real analog film experience. We've added some digital features. We added a viewfinder. We added a digital mic. And we added a place you can put a card in so you can integrate that properly. But the ecosystem is you take the pic, you buy the film, you then send the film after you've shot it back to Kodak. We will then upload an image onto YouTube or whatever you'd like, and then you can share it social media, you can watch it digitally if you want. And in the mail, a special present comes, which is the reel-to-reel, which you can shoot at home as well.
I shot on some 8mm film, some Vision 3, a couple years ago for a project, and I got the digital transfer done and everything, but I had to find, it was almost impossible. I had to find the last place in New York City that sells it, and it's this basement office. I mean, it's like so hard to track down. It's impossible to find online. And then I had to bring it back there to get developed, and they did the digital transfer. It was very expensive, but I did get that reel back, and there was something about, as much as I had fun working with that film in the project on my computer, having that reel was something totally wild. And that's exciting that you guys are keeping that around.
We think it's important. Well, you're analog, right?
Yeah.
So you're not digital, you're analog. So when you feel it, when you touch it, that's part of the maker movement. That's part of why there's an analog renaissance right now, is that this show is full of very good digital products that are extraordinary. What we've done is taken some of that digital content and brought back analog into it for the best of both worlds. And that's what makes it fun for you. And the ecosystem is required. The ecosystem that, frankly, many of us were shot as kids, with Super 8, and those are the movies that we have in our memory, had a full ecosystem. You could have gone to the corner pharmacy and got that done. Now, you have to do a mail order into Kodak, but it'll be good.
Now, this camera, tell me when it's going to be released, and tell me how cheap it is, because it looks really cool. If you haven't seen it, you got to go find it. It is like the nicest looking 8mm camera that looks like it was released in 2016, really.
Later this fall, we expect to have a limited edition out. We're targeting prices still TBD, but when we get to volume, you're talking somewhere between $400 and $700 for a camera. Pricing it right underneath Oculus.
Well, yeah. Totally different experiences. Yeah. But I mean, I would expect to look in that price range if I was going to try and find a working 8mm camera. I know my brother has one. This one I used, and it was, even that is hard to keep working these days because that one's even older than 82.
Yeah. So when we announced this, a lot of people have come back and given us feedback, including a school teacher who teaches film, and he said we've been buying them up and having spares, off of the internet, and it's getting harder and harder. There is a Super 8 you can buy today, but it's $5,000. It's a very beautiful, all the features that you could have, and they're only going to sell a couple hundred of those. It's a really unique product. This is for the masses. This is when we want to get people accessible to students.
Well, and part of getting that to the masses is like where I want to end this is you mentioned these guys at the beginning, but JJ Abrams, Quentin Tarantino, there are a bunch of really acclaimed filmmakers that have already come out before you even really announced this thing officially, have come out and supported this idea, which must be really cool. But I want to know, was that something you approached them to talk about this idea ahead of time? Did they just hear about it? I mean, how did they come into this?
It's actually a little deeper story than that.
Yeah.
Kodak was in bankruptcy. And after the company came out of bankruptcy, we brought on a new management team. I'm the new CEO of that for the last 18 months. One of the earliest decisions we had to make was, are we going to continue to make film? It's only 10% of Kodak revenue. But it's a huge responsibility for our brand and as a medium, as an artist medium. We made the decision to do it, and we went all in. And so when we talked to the Spielbergs and Tarantinos, will you still shoot film if we still make it? Their answer was a resounding yes. And then we talked about what's the next step, and the answer is how do we get more people to shoot film? And that means you have to have a device. It can't, not everyone can shoot 70 like Tarantino, and so we have to have a device that's accessible, to people who want to experiment and play and learn, and that's what this is all about. So yes, they've been in from the beginning.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Jeff.
Pleasure chatting with you.
We have a whole lot more going on here at CES this year. The show's packed with a ton of stuff. We've been out. Everybody back here has been out working really hard, so give them some love. And if you want to see all that, definitely go to theverge.com. Also go to youtube.com/theverge and click subscribe. We've got tons of awesome videos there. Maybe we can get some film videos processed and put up there too.
I'm sure we can get you some film.
Yeah, there we go. So head to those. Make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Stick around.
Thank you very much.